He said it believes it's supposed to have a drip system and so much water and so much fertilizer. And if it doesn't get fertilized when it's supposed to, water when it's supposed to, it won't fight, it won't strengthen itself, it'll die.
Right.
The church plant is only concerned about what it can get and how much the master gardener can give it.
Amen.
If the master gardener doesn't continue to feed it, it'll dry up out of complaint.
Amen.
And it'll die. He said, the weed, look at the weed, son. I said, yes, Lord. I said, as soon as it plants itself, he said, the roots are so deep. By the time it manifests, it's already ready to pollinate.
Amen.
Because it already, a seed, it already knows its purpose. It already knows what it's all about. I said, Daddy, talk to me. He said, the purpose of the weed is to choke off the plant.
Amen.
And so what the weed will do in order to kill the plant, it'll camouflage itself.
Amen.
He said, the weed, he said, look on the ground. I started looking at the ground real close. At first, I didn't see it. Then I saw this blanket of little bitty weeds, and they all changed colors.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them look just like the dusty ground.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them look like a plant. Some of them look like other plants next to them, but they were weeds.
Mm-hmm.
He said the weed studies the plant. It adapts itself, it molds itself, it sits right next to the plant. It influences the plant to believe the plant is talking and dealing with another plant. But it's still a weed, and at maturity, it'll kill the plant.
Amen.
I said, wow, God, this is deep. So I'm dealing with this. I'm looking at the weeds. So I said, God, I'm just going to start. Got my Roundup, put my big pants on, put my glasses on, and I started shoot. God said, see, you're just like an inexperienced master gardener.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what you talking about, God? I said, those are weeds. He says, killing field. You made the garden a killing field. I said, Daddy, what you talking about? He said, you just shooting all the things you see.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that's going to get off on the plant.
True.
When it gets off on the plant's not strong enough to resist a drop that'll come from the Roundup. But you got to put a nice stream on the weed to kill it.
Yeah.
Because the weed, what it'll do is it'll re-engineer its DNA.
True.
So that you shoot it with Roundup today, it'll send a message to the root system that's already moving where you can't see it. When the other part comes up, it's already re-engineered DNA. It can handle more Roundup.
True.
He said, son, you still don't understand what I'm saying, do you? I said, Daddy, talk to me. He said, do you not know there are carnal believers inside the church and they look like the plant? And he said, do you not realize that there are weeds inside the house and their whole job is to make you spend more money on water and more money on fertilizer and exhaust your time in the field because you don't understand the weed.
Teach.
I said, then make me a master gardener. He said, okay. He said, go to the weed. I said, yes, sir. He said, dig down deep around it. I said, yes, Lord. Now, when you break the fallow surface, the hard surface of it is really hard. But once you cut it with that shovel, get in a little bit, shoot right down. Because the root system of the weed busts up the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That part you already heard. Bust the ground all up and it starts tunneling different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be very careful when you're pulling it out because it's pulling from the sides and it's pulling deep. He said, be careful pulling it out. And so I noticed something. God was showing me the same care that I give to the plant, I must give to the weed.
Amen.
In order to extract the weed properly, I have to give it a certain amount of care.
True.
And not just spend all the resources that may be at my disposal to fertilize it or to water it, because it's only going to reproduce after its own kind. And then God dealt with me about the plants. So yes, Lord, so I'm pulling the weed. I stopped making my yard a killing field, so I started pulling the weeds. There's thousands of these little weeds that I'm pulling them out. I said, man, this is exhausting. And he reminded me of Abram. He gave Abraham a promise. And he told Abraham, and this one Abraham had to execute on his will. He told Abraham to cut all those animals, split them down the middle, take their innards out, put them up on a bowl so it can be sacrificed. separate the animals, and he told Abraham to shoot your buzzards. Keep fighting off the buzzards who are trying to get your dream. Get them away from your covenant. Keep them away from your promise. And Abraham, this is what I learned from Abraham. God bring that back to my mind. I'm looking at Abraham, and he's about exhausted. And God knows that Abraham's about exhausted. I'm talking to the church right now. He knows that Abraham's been doing this for a long time. And any good man will weary after a while doing the will of the Father. Hey! Get away from that! But that buzzard will still obey. But at the point of exhaustion, when you can do no more on your own, the Lord of glory, who has never neglected you, has been watching the whole ordeal. He wanted to see how much did you set your will to purpose to do what God commanded you to do, to obey the Lord with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, all the power that's on the inside of you. When God sees that you've gone to the end of yourself,
Preach.
He shows up and He fights your battle for you.